Hi, artist! Let's welcome spring with some beautiful flowers. Spring officially begins on March 20th. So, Clover and I have been hanging out in the studio, and we recently learned about an artist named Georgia O'Keeffe. Let's learn a little bit more about her.
Georgia O'Keeffe was an American artist who is often referred to as the mother of American modernism. She is best known for her large paintings of flowers, skyscrapers, and the landscapes of New Mexico. Georgia O'Keeffe was born on November 15th, 1887, on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. She knew from a young age that she wanted to be an artist, and her mother encouraged Georgia to take art lessons. Growing up on a farm helped to fuel Georgia's fascination with nature, something that would be reflected in her art throughout her life. As a young woman, Georgia studied art in Chicago and New York, but she grew frustrated that what she was being taught did not allow her to express her own ideas of what art could look like. That's when Georgia O'Keeffe discovered abstract art, artwork that doesn't try to show the world as it really is, but uses shapes and colors in unusual ways to express ideas and emotions. This new way of painting was exciting to Georgia, and she began to experiment with it. She later said, "I found I could say things with color and shapes that I couldn't say in any other way, things I had no words for." In 1915, Georgia made a series of abstract charcoal drawings and sent them to a friend. Without Georgia's permission, her friend took these drawings to famous photographer Alfred Stieglitz, who displayed them in his art gallery. At first, Georgia was very angry that he had done this, but they soon became friends. At that time in history, being a professional artist was not considered an option for women, but Alfred was so impressed with her work that in 1917 he hosted Georgia's first solo art exhibition at his gallery. Georgia and Alfred eventually fell in love, and in 1924 they got married. The two lived in New York City at the top of one of the tallest skyscrapers of the time, and Georgia O'Keeffe started painting the city that she saw from her window. She once remarked that you could not paint New York as it is, but rather as it felt, and Georgia used a distinctive style to create dramatic paintings. At this time, Georgia O'Keeffe also began painting large close ups of flowers, the art she is perhaps most famous for. She would take small details of the flower and put them onto large canvases, magnifying them and transforming them into something abstract, with bright colours and bold brushstrokes. In 1946, the Museum of Modern Art in New York held an exhibition of Georgia's work, and a few years later, Georgia left New York to live in New Mexico, a place she had visited regularly over the past 20 years, but now made her home. Just as she painted the city around her before, Georgia started painting the desert of New Mexico and the things she found there, often including bones in her paintings. Many people associate bones with death, but Georgia found them to be beautiful, and she was fascinated by the small details she'd see in them, just like with the flowers. She fell in love with New Mexico's unusual landscape and would spend hours in the hot desert painting what she saw. Georgia felt particularly inspired by the Paternal Mountain, which she painted over and over. She once said, "It is my private mountain. It belongs to me. God told me if I painted it enough, I could have it." Georgia O'Keeffe died in 1986 at the age of 98. She continued to paint in her old age, producing more than 2,000 pieces of art in her lifetime. Even when she began to lose her eyesight, she would still make art with the help of an assistant, describing to them what she wanted to create. She said, "I can see what I want to paint. The thing that makes you want to create is still there." Georgia O'Keeffe was a free spirit who changed the world of art by pushing creative boundaries and expressing herself in new and distinctive ways. She opened the door for female artists and inspired those that came after her to never be ashamed to see things differently or to try new things. Georgia herself said it best: "I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing I wanted to do."
So, hopefully, you found Georgia O'Keeffe as inspiring as I did. Um, like the person in the video said, um, Georgia saw art as a way to express the things that she didn't have the words for. So she was able to share her feelings and emotions through the shapes and colors that she put on her canvases. Okay, so now it's time for us to create something. This week, you're going to have two options. You may choose option one or option two. Option one is I will be showing you how to create three-dimensional flowers. Three-dimensional means that it is something that has mass, right? It exists in space and you can hold it in your hands. And two-dimensional is flat, so something that is drawn on a piece of paper or painted on a canvas, but it is flat. All right, so this is the first part of the demo for option 1, three-dimensional flowers. Hi artists, I'm going to show you step 1 of how to create the three-dimensional flower. So the first thing you're going to need is a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll that you cut down. And if you don't have one of those, you can make your own tube simply by taking a little piece of paper, take some glue, put it on one side, and roll your paper into a tube like this. Okay. The next step is to, this time I'll use my paper roll, is to cut down strips, but you don't want to go all the way to the edge. So let me show you. I'm going to stop about right there. Okay, so I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to make cuts going all the way around my tube. The more strips you make, the more flower petals you'll have. Okay. You're going to go all the way around the tube. The next step is to fold these pieces down, and this is going to form the base of what we are going to add our petals to. So this is our structure. Okay, so for step 2, once you have your roll cut and the petals are open and folded down, the next thing you're going to do is create the petals of your flower. Now, maybe you have some construction paper that you'd like to use, or some fun scrapbook papers. You're welcome to use that. And if you don't have those things, but you'd still like to make the 3D flower, you can also draw your petals on paper with any kind of design you'd like. You color them with crayons or markers, or paint them, whatever you have on hand. And then you can cut these out and glue them on. But since I have these fun papers, I have chosen to do my petals out of those. This one already has dots of glue. Okay, I've chosen to layer the designs on my petals. Like that. So here I have a couple pieces already put together, and I am simply going to go around pressing my petals onto the strips that I've cut. Sometimes you have to hold it down for a couple seconds so that you know it's really stuck down well. Next, I'll finish this up and show you step 3. Okay, so now that you have all of your petals glued all the way around, the next thing to do is to fill in the center. Now, you can either take a piece of paper and crumple it up and simply stick it inside like that. Or if you have tissue paper, you can use tissue paper, or maybe you have a big pom-pom that you'd like to use. So you are going to fill the center. And there's one more thing we can add. Okay, so next I'd like to show you two different things you can do with paper. So I have this strip right here that I've cut into a fringe just by making small or closely spaced cuts and not going all the way to the edge of my paper. Now the next thing I'm going to do is scrunch the edge of this. Just gentle. I just want to put some crinkles in my fringe. See how I've made that a little more three-dimensional? If I wanted, I could put this around my flower. I'll show you that in the completed piece in a minute. Another thing you can do, I've cut this paper into strips. I'm going to curl it around this marker. You can use a pencil or a pen. If you don't have construction paper and you're using white paper, you can color the paper before you cut it into the strips. Give it a good squeeze, pull it off, and I have a little curlicue. Okay, so I have fringe, I have a little curl. You could also just curl one end a little bit, and that can stick out of your flower. Okay, so this is just about my completed flower. As you can see, I added the fringe that I just showed you how to make into the center. And I'm simply going to stick this crumpled up piece of yellow paper right inside of there. So this 3D flower started out with an empty, just a roll of toilet paper roll, and I turned it into this beautiful three-dimensional flower. All right, I hope you have fun making these. Okay, and if you would prefer to make a two-dimensional flower, this is how you would go about doing that. If you've decided that you would like to do option 2 and draw a two-dimensional flower, this is what you're going to do. So first, you may want to draw with a pencil. I'm going to draw with a black marker so that you're able to see. You can draw very large flowers. You can look up a picture online and draw a real flower, or you can make up a flower. That's completely up to you. You can have a field of flowers or giant ones like I've done here and kind of overlap them. I really want you to be creative and um, come up with something that you'd like to do. So I'm going to show you how I started this. So flowers have a center, right? They have petals. It looks nice when you have some of your things going off the page, like I have here. You can always see a really big difference from when I have taken my time and made something or when I'm trying to kind of go quickly like I am right now. Think about different designs or patterns you can add to your flowers. Like I said, it does not have to be realistic. You can come up with something fun on your own. If you wanted to put polka dots on your flower petals, you are welcome to do that. Just kind of being creative there. You can add leaves to your flower. You can overlap, make it look like some flowers are tucked under. So whatever you choose to do, I want you to fill up your entire paper. The entire surface of your paper should have something on it. And then after that, you can use whatever coloring supplies you have on hand. So for this one right here, I started with watercolors, um, but you don't have to. You can use crayons, markers, colored pencils. You can use several supplies like I did. It's completely up to you. But whatever you decide to draw, make sure you take your time and do it to the best of your ability. All right, so I can't wait to see which one you chose, either option one, the three-dimensional flower, or option two, the two-dimensional flower. So, as you can see, my current mood, I am very excited because spring is one of my favorite seasons. I can't wait to see the little pops of color and the leaves on trees again and the grass turning green. So, I want you to be inspired by nature and by Georgia O'Keeffe this week. And just channel your inner artist. So, Clover and I are going to be hanging out in the studio, and we can't wait to see what you come up with. All right. Thanks. Bye.